So before we get started, I'm a little bit sick. So sorry about that in advance, and I will be doing my best to edit out all of my breath sounds. So be excited about that. So let's get into this story, and then I will give some comments and my thoughts on it. This story is titled AITA for not telling a man that the research he was mansplaining to me was my own. Has the obligatory, I don't normally post on Reddit, so please forgive me if I do this wrong. I, 33 female, work in a very small, technical, specific, male-dominated field. I won't give too much information on it, as I think you can easily find my identity if I did, but let's just say it's a subcategory of law. I graduated 9 years ago. For anyone wondering, the system in my country is different than in the US, so I only studied for 5 years. And am now a lawyer as well as a researcher. I published some work here and there, but nothing too major, and no one outside of that field knows my work. Yesterday, I went to a bar with a couple friends who introduced me to one of their friends who works in the same field as me. I was pretty excited to meet him because it's rare to meet people who work in that field. He doesn't exactly do the same thing I do. He's not a lawyer but a legal advisor, but we work on the same topic. So naturally we started talking about our work. At one point we were discussing a point on which we had different opinions. So I explained mine to him, and he replied by saying that my opinion was based on nothing while his was based off the work of a professional. You guessed it, me. He basically started explaining my work to me, but in a completely wrong way, and missed all of my points. I asked him if he was sure that that was the author's meaning, and he said that he was, because it was pretty simple actually. For another good 20 minutes he explained all of it to me in detail, like I was a first-year law student. I didn't say anything because it was pretty funny to watch him say things that were completely wrong with so much confidence. After that, the topic changed and the night went on, but at the end of the night, right before leaving, I decided to tell him that I was actually the person that wrote the work he had quoted, and that he really hadn't understood it. He reacted very badly and got angry and told me that I had manipulated him to humiliate him. He yelled at me for not saying it was my work at the beginning. I simply replied that he had embarrassed himself and left. I woke up this morning to text from my friend saying I was wrong for causing drama and tension, and that I could have been nicer to their friend. I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong here. I mean, yes, I could have told him right away, but is it that big of a deal that I didn't? I'm not exactly sure. AITA. There is an edit. I forgot to make this clear, and maybe it's a bit of a misunderstanding, but both conversations happened only between the two of us. We were the only ones talking about our work, and our friends also weren't really there when I told him I was the author. So it's not like I publicly humiliated him. The only thing embarrassing for him here is that a woman seemed smarter than him, and I think that's what he had an issue with. Edit number 2. I've seen some comments claiming that this post was fake because that just doesn't happen. I've seen many other stories where the same thing happens, or that's not realistic. I'm not trying to justify anything because I don't really care, but I just find it funny to see lots of comments from women sharing similar stories, and then lots of comments from men saying it doesn't happen. Now for some comments. This is as good as that man on Twitter that tried to tell Margaret Atwood which religious doctrine The Handmaid's Tale was a critique of. Not the asshole. NTA. He fucked around and found out. He's just pissed as a small man that realized he is outclassed and potentially made some massive career errors, being plain wrong to start with, and then being enough of a misogynist to behave like that without realizing you were the author. You took the trash out. He probably behaves like this in the office too, so taking him down a peg probably hit too hard. And then my favorite. You embarrass yourself. 10 out of 10 response. NTA. How dare you let our friend behave like himself in public? You were supposed to help him cover up his ignorance. Perhaps they were angry and feel foolish because of what their association with him says about them. So my thoughts are pretty simple. It doesn't matter what gender you are, but if you are the person who is being told they were wrong in this scenario, all you have to do is say, I would love to know more about how I am wrong, and maybe reflect on whatever they tell you. The other person could be the person that's wrong. You could be the person that's wrong. But either way, you have to be open-minded and willing to hear a counter opinion, argument, or fact. Any of those things. I've been on the receiving end of this multiple times. I've been wrong multiple times. And both times feels gross. It feels gross to be wrong publicly and be told you're wrong publicly, even if there's nobody actually around you listening. I mean, you're in a public spot and you feel embarrassed. That's not great. It also sucks to be really confident in your knowledge of something and then have that thrown in your face and be told that you're wrong. Both are awful. I'm not even going to say one is more awful than the other. They're both just not great, but how you react act that says a lot more about you than you just being wrong. And the most likely reason the friends are mad is because the friend that the OP was hanging out with probably went threw a fit to everybody they knew and stated, oh my god, they embarrassed me on purpose, blah, 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 and just blew it probably way out of proportion and acted like a giant toddler. And if you are the friend in that scenario and are more upset that your friend is causing a problem because they embarrassed themselves by being wrong about something in public, you can tell that person to grow up and get over it. Of course, that doesn't apply to every single scenario, but in this one specifically, the guy that got embarrassed in public by being wrong, he needs to grow up a little bit. I mean, come on. All he had to do is say, oh, my bad. Can you explain what you meant? That's it. So simple.